25 to order. We will start with the invocation, and as we start with the invocation, of course, let's keep in our thoughts and prayers the victims of the school shooting in Minneapolis. And Councilman Carroll, if you can kindly take over the invocation.
Town and its residents. We are grateful for all who work for the betterment of our community here, and those who serve here. Be ever mindful of the town's vision and mission statement. Grant this council the wisdom to govern amid the conflicting interests and issues of our times, the ability to work together in harmony even when there is honest disagreement, a sense of the welfare and true needs of our people, personal peace in our lives, and joy in our task. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. If you will, the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, I'd like to know who imposed the cognitive test on council by moving the flag from this side to that side. So
Everybody passed.
Everybody passed. All right, if you can kindly call the roll, please.
Mayor Foley?
Here.
Vice Mayor Atwater?
Here.
Councilmember Carroll?
Here.
Councilmember Dane?
Here.
Let the record show all members are present with the exception of Councilmember Altieri.
Thank you very much, and just to remind us up here on the dais that with our new system, press the button when speaking and then depress it again when you're finished speaking. So item number 2, are there any requests to reorder the agenda, delete items from the agenda, or any emergency additions? If there are none, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. We have presentation, NPD ESMS-4 presentation, which we have, I think, every year, and we're looking forward to seeing what you have for us in store this year to update us on our efforts in compliance. Thank you. That's okay.
Mr. Mayor, perhaps just for timing, we want to go to consent agenda.
Actually, I'm going to go to item 4, which is comments for the public regarding the agenda items, since I don't think we're going to have any comments on that. So we will do that. Is there any objection to take item 5 out of order on the consent agenda from council? No. There being none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All right, terrific. And once again, we didn't have to have a roll call vote because we didn't have any resolutions.
We do have a resolution.
Right. All right, let's do the mayor's report.
Mr. Mayor,
Resolution.
There's a resolution. Where?
second one, B.
B. Okay, so let's do a roll call vote on the consent agenda.
Mayor Foley?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Atwater?
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll?
Aye.
Councilmember Dane?
Aye.
Let the record show the motion passes unanimously.
Yes, apologies. I do see the resolution for the mailbox fees. All right, let's do the mayor's report at this point. So just relatively few items here. We had some comments from the public on the sewer connections that are mandated by state, and compared to other municipalities, we're in very good shape because we have relatively few that are out of compliance with the state statute. The town manager is going to update us on the progress on that and how he sees that all shaking out. And Mr. Hartring, I'd like to thank you for the work that you did with the city of Vero Beach in terms of negotiating a reasonable and fair, hopefully, process for this, and a mechanism that won't impose too much economic hardship on our folks. So we'll hear more from you on that when you do your update. No surprise, we're hearing, at least I'm hearing, some very positive feedback from our constituents appreciating the reduction in the mill rate. And if you don't get praise as an elected official for reducing tax burdens, I don't know what more you can possibly do. So thanks to council for working so hard on that. And we will continue to do what we can to be fiscally responsible for our citizens. The last item we've had some comments. We'll have an update on a problem that occurs, it seems like every year, but I went back and looked at my mental notes, and I think it's pretty much either every year or every other year on shark fishing and what we can do about it. We're going to have the town attorney explain at another point in today's meeting why we have limited jurisdictional ability to do the things we'd like to do, and then the town attorney and/or the town manager will tell you what we can do and what we do intend to do to even beef up that enforcement. Again, it happens from time to time. It's unfortunate. It's beyond our control, but we will continue to monitor the situation and do everything within our jurisdictional power to handle that. All right. Any questions from council on the mayor's report or items or questions for me? If not, we can move on to the presentation. Okay, good. Thank you. Let's. Are we set to do the presentation yet? Okay. And for the record, if you can just identify yourself by name and affiliation, and then take it away.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor, council members. My name is Kevin Robertson. I'm with Kimley Horn and Associates, civil engineer for the town here. I've been working with y'all for about 8 years, and we do a number of civil engineering projects for the town, and one of those is stormwater compliance. And my partner is on maternity leave, so I've stepped up to take this over for her. But once a year, as part of our requirements for the NPDES, we have to do a public outreach and education. So I believe you did one last year, and this may be similar to that. So the purpose of this is just to educate the town and the public on all about stormwater, how your system works, and what are illicit discharges. So basically everything that, when it rains, everything that hits an impervious surface, pavement, or your lawns, all wash into the street, and then all that all washes into your stormwater system. And so what we're trying to do is eliminate things like pet waste and oils and greases and fertilizers, soap suds, and those sorts of things. All of that goes to an intermediate stormwater system, but then ultimately goes into the lagoon, which we're trying to prevent. So back in 1972, the Clean Water Act was passed, and it created this National Pollution Discharge Elimination System. We call it NPDES. And that basically regulates everything about stormwater. So during construction, if your site's over an acre, you have to apply to the general construction permit. That's something that the bigger properties here in town would do. The second and the fourth bullets don't really apply to you, but the third one is really what we want to focus on today, which is called the Municipal Separate Stormwater System, MS4. And so the town has a system, and they have legal authority to implement that system, and there's obligations through the state and federal requirements to do that. So one of those is this public education that we're doing now. So what is an NPDES permit and what's an MS4 permit? So the NPDES basically is it's pollutant discharge elimination system, and it aims to eliminate point discharges from stormwater pollutants. So we go through things like this education, try to help you identify things that we want to keep out of the stormwater system so that you and the public are aware of what should and shouldn't go down the drain. Again, this is required by federal and state statutes. And then the specific municipal separate stormwater system, the MS4, for the town. There we go. So this is basically your master drainage system, and this is something that the town regulates, and again, there's policies and different things that we have to do every year. But essentially, the key word here is it's a separate storm system. So at one point, sewer and storms were collected and jointly disposed. They've obviously eliminated that years and years ago, but it's separate from what happens in your wastewater stream from your house. So your toilets and all that stuff goes to a wastewater treatment plant. Storm is everything that hits from a from a rainfall. And basically, it's all of that's collected in a series of catch basins in the roadways, goes to swales or ponds or some sort of filtration device. It settles out and then ultimately goes to the lagoon. So again, it's separate from the storm and sewer are separated. You can see here the different slide. So the everything from your house, the toilets, sinks, et cetera, those go to a wastewater treatment plant. Everything in the roadway goes to a separate storm. So these are regulated through something called best management practices, or BMPs. And these are basically just things that management systems we can implement to try to control the pollutant discharge. So in the town specifically, there's there's filter baskets. There's a couple of these placed along Old Winter Beach Road. And these are basically, you can see, they're baskets that fit in the storm grate in the roadway, and these can be picked up and maintained. So you see the little graphic here. Sediment and your hard debris get collected there. They get pulled out and cleaned periodically. So that allows none of that stuff to go into the lagoon. Another one you have here is called a baffle box, and this was installed at Indian Lane. This is a larger system. Again, it's all underground, but the other one fit right inside of a normal stormwater catch basin. This is a larger system, but it has a series of baffles in the middle. So while the stormwater comes in on the left side, the sediments go down to the bottom, they filter through these baffles, and all of this is filled with water. So as it goes out the right side, there's a weir that prevents the oils and greases from floating out. Then there's also a basket that catches the hard debris. So this again gets maintained regularly. So the things we want to inform you and the public today is what are illicit discharges. So those are anything, again, stormwater hits the grasses in your road and everything washes into the storm drains. So if you have chemicals, paint, yard debris, pet excrement, all that stuff also goes in the storm drain, and we want to prevent that. So these are a couple things to keep an eye on. You know, don't deliberately sweep sand and debris into the stormwater system. Obviously, don't let your pets go into them. Grass clippings, anything again that goes into that drain makes its way into the stormwater system. We want to try to eliminate that. Pool cleaners on the right. Paint, this thing's been around since 1972. We still see this on a regular basis from contractors, especially at homes. They've been taught they shouldn't be doing it, but on a regular basis, you'll see them cleaning their paint brushes in the driveway. All that obviously goes straight to the roadway system, and that's really bad for the environment. So that needs to be done separately. Same with waste, concrete debris, stucco clean out, all that stuff. Car wash, try to do this in your yard or in a grassy area where these suds can get trapped. Otherwise, it goes straight into the lagoon. So keep an eye out for things on the left. This is an oily sheen on the water. This would be from the oils and debris and stuff. On the right, if you see foam coming out of the stormwater pipes at the ponds, that's obviously suds and pool cleaner and other things that are reacting with the water. So lastly, if you do see any of these illicit discharges, we'd ask that you contact the building department or Mr. Bryan, and just remind your contractors, if you're a homeowner or on a construction site, only rain down the drain. Everything that hits the stormwater system ultimately is going to make its way into the lagoon. I appreciate your time. Happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Thank you very much for an enlightening presentation. Are there any questions or comments from council, starting from right to left?
No comment. It was a really good presentation. I thought I picked up a few things that I've probably been guilty of in the past, at some point, and I know my neighbors have. So I'm I'm glad to become aware of it, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Vice Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Councilman Carroll? Nothing? Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. It's not for you. I have one question. And I know Fred is, our building inspector, Fred Held, has got a conflict today. As part of our permitting process, do we enlighten the contractors to all this, remind them, and do we have an ongoing enforcement mechanism with spot inspections?
Yes and yes. There's information on the documentation regarding the MS4 requirements, and especially as it relates to certain sizes of property and the construction that's happening and what has to be done. Secondarily, we have our field personnel to include our inspector, Jake Mykrantz, Max Wiltius, who is our public works employee, who regularly, either monitor locations where our baffle boxes or the inlets are, or are actually going out to the construction sites to make sure that whatever NPDES requirements, MS4 requirements are on that particular site, whether it's silt fences or screening around inlets and things like that are taking place.
All right, terrific, thank you. Anything else for Mr. Harpering on this from council? No? Okay. All right, we went out of order, and we now are at item 7, if I'm following correctly, and the Vice Mayor attended the League of Cities meeting. It was in Orlando this year?
Yes, that's correct.
And has a report on the Florida League of Cities DOGE presentation, Department of Government Efficiency. We have one at the state level too, and a general recap of the meeting. So thank you, Vice Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So there were 2 primary themes to this conference 2 weekends ago. I'll handle property tax reform first. And realistically, you have the word reform, you have to sort of put it in quotes as to what reform it really is. We've heard comments from the governor making comments to the effect that when you pay property taxes each year, it's like paying rent on a house that you already own. Bit of a mystifying comment. I will just say that in looking at our budget, if you look at our public safety department expenditures, operating expenditures and capital expenditures, as a percentage of that budget, they're pretty close to the roughly the same amount of revenues that we that we raise from property taxes. So if you eliminate property taxes or substantially cut them, somebody that's reasonably proficient in the 3rd grade will tell you that the math just doesn't work. We can't balance our budget. And one thing that I want to mention as well, as compared to many municipalities in Florida, and particularly those in Indian River County, this town does not charge a utility franchise tax. That's not an insignificant savings that, frankly, at least sitting on council, doesn't seem to come up. So our residents get a break on that as well as compared to other municipalities here. So there has been a committee which has been established. It has 38 people on a House Select Committee, and State Representative Brackett, who used to be the mayor of Vero Beach, is on the committee, which I think is a good thing because he can bring his experience to that committee. Because unfortunately, what you find is that many of the more recent class of state legislators have never worked on a local government and don't really understand the challenges that we have to deal with. So I think it's good that somebody like him is on the committee. And so there have been these concept proposals which you see up here on the screen. I'll take the first one last. Essentially, many of them, the next 3, the $500,000 homestead exemption and $1 million homestead exemption, just takes the current laws and raises the homestead exemption. The second one basically gives the authority to the legislature, which I think they really have already, to increase it to any value by general legislation. And then there, as as we know, anybody who lives here is a full-time resident who doesn't rent their place out, and it's a residential property. There is a homestead exemption you can apply for, which basically limits any change in your taxable value, which is used for calculating your property tax, can only go up a maximum of 3% or the value of the property. So in some cases, like after the great financial crisis, those values actually went down. So the idea would be on the one there that says modifying the assessment increase limitations 3% every 3 years rather than 3% each year. And then finally, which the last one, which wasn't discussed very much, is eliminating foreclosures on homestead property due to a tax lien. I mean, personally, I'm sort of mystified by that one because basically you're going to have a squatter sitting in there not paying their taxes. Then how do you get them out there? I mean, there's a responsibility when you own a property to pay your property taxes. That one was not really discussed too much. So what and I haven't included the slides, what the Florida League of Cities done has looked at, done first of all a poll of people, and surprisingly, they wouldn't mind having their taxes cut, but in terms of, at least according to FLC, tax fairness beats tax cut. So one thing that keeps coming up is stopping seasonal resident fraud. In other words, people who come down here to claim that they're a resident and get the homestead exemption. You're really not going to get much money out of that. There were some other things. What did come up was a senior property tax reduction. 60% of the people thought that was a great idea, and some other things and so forth there. Although interestingly enough, that most voters believe local government's comparatively fiscally responsible. 74% said often or sometimes local government performs duties efficiently and cost effectively. Certainly when you look at, I think most municipalities in the state of Florida, compared to the ones that I'm familiar with in the Northeast and Pennsylvania, I would think that's the case. So what Florida League of Cities done is they've done an analysis of various cities around the state to show what the impact would be on revenues. And I'm not going to walk through all those. I mentioned to our town manager, our assistant town manager, that we could get that analysis done for our town as well, basically looking at some of these ones here which are up on the screen. Hopefully they do it right, but if they're going to offer it for free, I think that we should do it. Now, in another part of the presentation later on in the day, in terms of these initial proposals, they were not looked at very favorably by this select committee. And very interestingly is that a person who used to be in the state legislature, who's a former, I believe, Parkwood mayor, she made the comment, and she's up there all the time, she says, she doesn't know who's driving the train on this, which is kind of interesting where this whole thing is going. You know, politically, is it the governor pushing this, but is it getting down to the state legislature, or is it all a public relations ploy? So before I move on to Doge, if any gentlemen have comments or questions before I move to Doge, I'd be happy to take them.
Anything for the Vice Mayor? One question, how deep was the discussion about if any of these proposals kind of work their way through, it's just going to be, tax and fee shifting? Like we anticipate enterprise funds in cities will just be increasing fees and costs and using those revenues to compensate for any loss of ad valorem tax revenue.
Well, that's interesting that you bring that up because you and I have pushed this at various meetings. That's a very verboten topic that the Florida League of Cities, what they do each year, they have elections for their officers, and they're basically self-selected. But I asked a couple people that were running the question, I'm sure, that I know you've asked, well, what's your attitude about charging a higher rate on a utility bill for somebody that's outside your town that you service compared to inside the town. And you get a lot of hemming and hawing on that. And to that point, I applied to get on the Tax and Finance Advisory Committee, and I did get on it. So they will regret that, but I intend to bring this up and make myself a royal pain in the neck about it, because I think we have to fix it, particularly if something like this goes on. And I know you've been, fighting a good fight on that and getting beat up about it as well. But it's rather interesting on that. What I said to those people who are running, I said, well, consider a situation where you buy your power from Florida Power and Light, and your neighbor, the border between two municipalities runs between your yards. So they're in town A and you're in town B. I said, would you accept you paying 5 or 10% more because you're in town B for getting the same exact power? And of course, no. Then I bring it up about municipalities, and it's like dead silence that occurs. I mean, so I intend to bring that up when I get on that committee. So I might have somebody start my car for me each time that I go out to the parking lot. Okay, so let's go through Doge, and I'll try to go through this quick, but I mean, there was a lot of discussion. So there's these big meeting rooms, and they had a giant one for this presentation, and it was filled. And as the gentleman from Doge went through that, I heard more murmuring in the audience and outright complaining in my earshot than I'd ever seen anything else. So the head of Doge is a gentleman named Eric J. Soskin. He has been in the state of Florida for a total of 5 months so far. He worked for Department of Justice, and he primarily worked on constitutional and administrative law, and defended orders on immigration public charge, actions assert state secrets privilege, other executive privileges, and then he moved over to be the Inspector General for the U.S. Department of Transportation, and he really worked on basically DEI stuff. So, all right, this is out of order here. Okay, so let's go to that was the Doge manual that this references here. So this was the conference. So these are Mr. Soskin's slides, and what you will see through here is, and it's not even hidden at all, they're going after what they believe is inappropriate expenditures on DEI. And so that's him on the left. He reports to the new chief financial officer, and then the other person helping out is Lita W. Kelly. So he has a series of slides here about revenues going up, and they can't stop. You can't go on forever. So I mean, we all know that, and we not only talk the talk here in the New River Shores, we walk the walk. So Florida was Doge before Doge was cool. This is an advertisement for the governor. And look, they've done good work. Particularly as a guy that worked in the bond market for 36 years, the fact that 41% of Florida's historic tax-supported debt has been paid down, I mean, that's something to be proud of. There's no doubt about that. So another chart about government spending up from the Federal Reserve, and more to show some counties they happen to be targeting as well. So they point out why this has to be done. We're suffering frustrations on efficiency and so forth. I mean, we've looked at we've handled all these. So, but and then on these series of charts, they went through like a flow chart of the building permit process and other things about how slow government works in their opinion, and I'm certainly sure that's true. in a lot of areas of Florida. I don't feel that's the case for us. And then we get to climate change, DEI, and so forth. And again, no attempt to hide this at all. So I'm not editorializing. This gentleman, Mr. Soskin, said that. So DOGE in Florida cities. So interestingly enough, there were a lot of towns and counties in the state of Florida passed resolutions saying that they were in support of that. We did not. We live it every single day. Interestingly enough, a town just south of us on the Barrier Island passed one of those, and the same town that doesn't have their audit done yet. So this is the legal framework that he put up. He really didn't go through much discussion there. So this is their core principles: advisory, lean, temporary, and innovative. And I think things that we try to live every day, even in a small community like ours. But so what they will do is their focus is in three spots: state agencies, higher ed. I think particularly in higher ed, they're looking at spending that supports DEI or has principles revolving around that. So they are going to come in and basically look at your records, and they will possibly go through your accounting systems and so forth to review contracts and so forth. Now, they're supposed to have auditors that are coming in, but what concerned me is they have legislative assistants that are going to be in there. I've dealt with a lot of legislative assistants, either up in Tallahassee or most of the time on Capitol Hill, and they can be very smart people. They don't have the day-to-day experience of managing a city or managing a town or managing a county. And that was somewhat troubling to me. But they want to have access to all the records. We're an open book, and under the public records law, we have to give it to them anyway. So what they've sent these notices out. Heather responded, boy, she had a lot of work to do. I saw how much she had to pull up, and she only had, I think, a week to do it, if I recall correctly. So kudos to you, and kudos to Jim for getting that put together. So they've started going through on-site visits. I find it highly unlikely they're going to show up here given the size of our town. And if they look and see that we're going to cut our millage rate by 4%, I don't think that's. If you look at the jurisdictions they've gone to so far, I believe most of those are run by the Democratic Party, probably just a coincidence. So this is the layout of what they're going to do in terms of the material they're going to ask for, as far as coming on site, doing 2 days. They want to access systems. Now, in my mind, how can they really access systems unless they know the systems? Everybody's is different. They're going to have to rely upon staff doing it, which is fine. We're going to be happy to do it, and then they might have a follow-up take place. This sort of bothered me. On the right, do not alter, destroy, or falsify documents. Expect state employees to sign non-disclosure agreements. Reprimand, penalize, otherwise retaliate against staff for providing truthful information. I find that somewhat insulting. That they would think that people would do that. So, and that got a lot of response from the audience. So that's their enforcement authority. So look at bullet point number 3, selective priorities, activities in support of wrongful, unlawful, or anti-scientific ideologies. Spending on activities that are trendy or low ROI. I don't know how they're going to calculate ROIs on that. Unnecessary use of taxpayer funds to support NGOs. That goes back to the 3rd bullet point. And they're going to be looking at performance metrics as well. Performance metrics, I think we're in really good shape there. We've done a lot of things over the past several years. So again, another slide on DEI. You feel like you got hit across the head with a baseball bat going through this. So climate change. Oops. And they have things about climate change as to whether it's real or not. So what's the road ahead? here's the thing, they're going to come out with 2 reports to the governor. The first one is September 30th. It wasn't clear, I think it's probably going to be just a recap of what they've done. Here is the one that is more troubling that we're going to have to really, potentially troubling, that we're going to have to pay attention to. On January 13th, there's going to be a set of potential legislative changes that are going to go to the state legislature. So we're going to have to watch that very closely and be able to respond to that. So, you know, they want to eliminate redundant, outdated regulations. Now, they brought up just very briefly about looking at state mandates. I had a question which was not asked of this gentleman. I said that in your review of local government expenditures, are you going to look at non-funded state mandates that result in higher expenditures by a municipality or less efficiency? And unfortunately, that one was not asked. Because I had to fill it out on a card. So DOGE is good government, and then what I included, and it was in the beginning of the slides, is the DOGE manual. Actually, I didn't think it was a bad summary of things. I'm not going to go through it. The town manager and I talked about it before, and he actually went through and gave some responses, which I think basically we're doing what they ask us to do. So with that, I'm done unless any other comments or questions.
No question.
No question. Okay, just clarification. We did not fail to adopt a resolution because we disagree with DOGE and its goals. We just don't have any. It really doesn't have any relevance to us because
Yes.
we file our paperwork on time. Our financial statements are always in order, and our outside auditors have told me on more than one occasion our staff is the model of the client that they would like to see in terms of the cooperation and preparation.
Good comment. Thank you.
I think that, you know, a lot of the burden that we're forced to endure in this is because there's really no way for them to be selective and look equanimous with all the other folks. So these policies are really directed towards some very poorly managed municipal governments, and a number of them were popped up there probably in the news. You've seen, you know, Orange County is reported to have maybe $300 million that, you know, they're not quite sure, you know, where the expenditures went and how there's any accountability for that. So I feel as if we're being hauled into a very widely cast net, and unfortunately, it's something that we're going to have to endure as long as this lasts. And I guess it's a cost of doing business for our municipality. Fortunately, we don't have anything to really be concerned about in terms of the substance of the DOGE enterprise. So I share your skepticism that they're going to be able to come in and do spot checks on computer systems. I think that there probably will be a refinement to this as they go forward, where it'll be a more triage audit, and if they see something, then they'll say, can we have access to your systems?
Yeah.
So let's not get too worked up about that, but I know we have the great cooperation of our staff if need be. As for the threats and intimidation, I know that would be offensive to us because we would always cooperate, but there are some municipalities where there have been some incidents where staff was not treated appropriately. So I think let's just hold on to our hats here. Circling back to and thank you for going to the conference and representing the town so ably and providing the information to us. And I don't want to make this up, but I think it was Senator Everett Dirksen who once said that select committees are where bad ideas go to die, hopefully. So the select committee on tax reform, hopefully, as the data percolates through, you know, they will see that all this is going to amount to is, at best, a shell game for taking revenue from taxpayers in different ways. I do think that there are some things that, you know, maybe ought to be looked at, like shifting some of the burden to, one example, out-of-state residents that claim homestead exemptions that really aren't entitled to it, and given the burden that tourists put on, the Florida economy, maybe we need to kind of rethink the welcomeness of the tax structure for tourism and, cost shift some of that over and provide property relief to Florida residents. But excellent presentation. It'll be interesting to see what happens, by January, and I agree with you, we need to watch this very, very carefully to make sure that this is done with a scalpel and not an atomic bomb that creates unwarranted circumstances on a municipality like us. So thank you very much.
Just say to that point, a referendum could be, if they come up with a referendum in language, that could become a runaway train. That everybody likes lower taxes, so.
Thank you. All right, let's move on to item 8, which is, 8B and C. We have approval and ordinance. Why do we have B and C again instead of A and B?
Because I made a mistake.
Okay. All right. Okay. Is there let's have a retroactive motion to amend item A to reflect that item B is actually A and item C is actually B. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so we have an amended agenda now. That's on me for not picking that up before we got to item 4. All right, approval, item A, approval of ordinance number 580, solid waste recycling and yard waste. Since it is a first reading, can you, Mr. Town Attorney and Mr. Town Manager, provide the background for this and what we're being asked to approve? And then I will ask to see if there's any public comment on this item since it is a first reading.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Regarding ordinance number 580, as the council knows, we have changed our franchise agreement relative to solid waste. Our previous ordinance, as it exists now, really is drafted and has language related to one-to-one billing and service providing. And here, what we're doing is we're just simply cleaning up our solid waste garbage ordinance to accurately reflect the fact that we're now in a franchise agreement and billing is done through the non-ad valorem assessment, and it makes our ordinance consistent with the franchise agreement and the actual operation.
I noticed you said we're cleaning up.
Yes, sir.
All right.
I couldn't let that pass.
No, it's quite all right. After sitting through a Doge conference, you're entitled to whatever humor you want to interject. So, all right, is there any discussion from council on item 8A?
Mr. Mayor, before I vote, may I read?
Yes, I know. I just
Thank
want to
you.
get discussion first and then. Okay, now we can go to the formal approval part. Do you want to kindly do the magic kabuki dance and, read the title and.
Yes, sir. Ordinance number 580, an ordinance of the Town of Indian River Shores, Florida, amending and repealing sections of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of Indian River Shores, Chapter 54, Garbage Collection, to reflect changes consistent with a new franchise agreement, providing for a business impact estimate, providing for severability, providing for codification, providing for conflicts, providing for scrivener's errors, and providing for an effective date. This is the first reading. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Is there, before council moves to vote on this, is there any public comment? Okay, there being none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
All right, so we have a motion by Councilman Carroll and a second by the Vice Mayor. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Mayor Foley?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Atwater?
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll? Aye. Councilmember Dane?
Aye.
Let the record show the motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you very much. And let's move to item 8B, which is approval of ordinance number 581, a non-ad valorem capital special assessment. First reading. I will tell the public it sounds a lot worse than it really is. Special assessments, especially for homeowners association people, carry a very bad connotation these days. If you would kindly give some background for this, Mr. Town Manager, and we'll have the Town Attorney do his thing afterwards.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. In this regard, Ordinance 581 addresses the state law changes in 2023 regarding the septic to sewer requirements, where any commercial or residential property in the town with an existing septic system has to convert to sanitary sewer when available by 2030. It's July 1st, 2030. The first projects in this town to address that are going to be on Beachcomber and Pebble Lane. In order to provide the residents with an opportunity to mitigate some of the immediate payment issues because they have to pay for the connection, we have negotiated with the city to allow any of our residents to pay either in a lump sum payment or through a 10-year assessment, a non-ad valorem capital special assessment on the tax bill, so they could amortize their payments over a period of 10 years. This, analogous to the process we just went through for solid waste, is the first step in authorizing the property appraiser and the tax collector to effectuate this non-ad valorem capital assessment. And this ordinance is required for that purpose, again, analogous to the process for solid waste. I just note two things from a foreshadowing standpoint, as it were. We'll be seeing in our next town council meeting on September 23rd, the interlocal agreement between the town and the city, which we have completed relative to some of the operations of the project. Because the city is installing the sewer, we're engaging in road project and stormwater updates. Also, we'll see a resolution, and that resolution again is analogous to the one we did for solid waste on November 20th, which identifies certain statutory requirements that we have to have. And then we'll continue the process throughout. But that's the basic background for this particular ordinance, Mr. Mayor and Council.
Thank you, Mr. Harpring. And just to put a finer point on it, the special assessment relates only to those people who are currently out of compliance, those properties and owners of those properties who are currently out of compliance with the state statute requiring sewer connections.
That's correct.
All right. Is there any comment from council before we do the magic language? Yes, Vice Mayor.
Just on doing the installment basis, do they charge an interest rate on that?
Yes, we're finalizing the details on that, but the interest rate will probably be 6.3 something percent. The rationale for that has to do with the fact that for the tax bill, if you pay early, you'll get a 4% discount.
Okay.
The city, in regards to their contracts and their payment for, the sewer installation, has to account for the possibility that someone will pay early, so they have to account for that relative to recoup their full investment. For those that pay early, then they receive those discounts. For those that don't, then that'll be the interest rate. And keep in mind, you can pay.
Well, then the effective rate will be 2.3% then.
Yes, yeah, okay. For those that pay early.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That sounds reasonable.
And also there is that one-time lump sum payment that you could pay in advance, or you could pay early, and we have a process whereby if during that 10 years someone wants to pay off the balance, they can do so by August 1st of each year, and then they will be removed from the rolls for the following year.
Okay, thank you.
Terrific, thank you. Good question. Mr. Sweeney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is ordinance number 581, an ordinance of the Town of Indian River Shores, Florida, a municipal corporation relating to special assessments, creating a new Chapter 103 in Title 9 of the Code of Town of Indian River Shores, Florida, the code entitled Special Assessments, providing findings and procedures for levying special assessments, providing a business impact estimate, providing for severability, providing for codification, providing for conflicts, providing for scrivener's errors, and providing for an effective date. This is the first reading. Thank you.
Thank you. Any public comment on this item? Anybody wish to comment? If there's no further comment from council, is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Okay, a motion by Councilman Carroll, a second by the Vice Mayor, and is there a roll call vote, please?
Mayor Foley?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Atwater?
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll?
Aye.
Councilmember Dean?
Aye.
Let the record show the motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you. And just to reiterate that we're in relatively good shape as municipalities go here. Some of our neighbors are really struggling to figure out how their residents are going to do this, because there are many that are out of compliance with the state statute, have a very short period of time to undertake some very expensive projects. So be thankful for small favors. So there we are. All right, staff updates. Item 9A, Building Official Report and Statistics. I know Mr. Held was in a conflict, so do you wish to say anything in addition to the report that was provided by Mr. Held's department?
I do not. I'm happy to answer any questions. We also have Inspector Mike Rancer who could answer any questions if needed.
Anything on building report and statistics? No? All right, we'll move on. Code enforcement.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Other than the items listed on the report, I have no updates. I'd like to answer any questions if you have any.
Yeah, just one thing on the signs. We continue to see repeat offenders, like the Mosquito Joe and things like that. I mean, other than sending them a notice, is there anything we can realistically do? You know, Got Junk is another one I've seen time and time again. Is there anything we can do other than, monetarily on this?
So I have a log that I keep track of. It includes the name of the realtor, any contact information. I log it all in. And if they are a repeat offender, then I do implement a fine, usually beginning at $50. And then each time they violate the ordinance, it does go up. But other than that, that's pretty much the enforcement process.
Can we enforce those fines when, I think like Mosquito Joe, if I recall correctly, is up in Melbourne? I mean, we can go after them and...
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Just, not to get too draconian about this though, but for repeat offenders, and I agree with the Vice Mayor's comment, and this is, I know we have enough lawyers up here to start a law firm, but, this one's directed to Mr. Sweeney. Is it possible to issue a revocation of right to do business in the jurisdiction, or because having a special master, that's an expense for us, and then $50 on a fine, not really a great deterrent. So, and I know we don't want to be unbusiness friendly or business unfriendly rather, but for people who are gaming the system, it may be worth a $50 fine, or no, they're going to get another warning from you. So it's not your fault. I'm not directing it to you, Inspector Mike Rance. So other than just thinking about being less forgiving on first offenses, increasing the fine, maybe imposing the costs on the special master on the violator, and letting word get out that way, is there something more we could do? Because for a larger entity, $50, $500, if they're profiting off it by violating, it's probably not a deterrent.
Mayor, Council, as far as issuance of a business tax receipt, I have not seen it. I'd have to research whether or not you could commingle code enforcement, outstanding fines or liens versus the ability to renew it. Again, typically BTRs are relatively low as far as the cost, somewhere between $50 and $100. So de minimis when you're talking about that. I'll speak with Town Manager Harpering about there might be more significant penalties, but those border on criminal. And although those are reserved within our code for any code violation, I'm not aware that it's ever been proceeded with, at least in my knowledge, and going back a long time. That's not to say it's not an option. So we would need to talk about that, figure out how that would work, because that would require cooperation. Obviously, we can't prosecute criminally the state and such, right. And they have their hands full.
I understand. So let's, why don't you report back to us?
Yes, sir.
How about October meeting, reasonable to have a proposal? Because I know we have a little room before we get to a criminal penalty, but remember 5 years ago or 6 years ago before we fixed it, the cost of a parking fine was $5, which
yes.
is, you had people parking overnight on Fred Turk and taking the fine because it made more sense to them trying to pay for a parking spot somewhere. So
you're exactly right.
All right, thanks. Any objection to that, or we'll just have a report back in October? All right, thanks very much. Public Works Department?
Same, if there's any other additional questions, I would just like to note, and thanks since Max here, thanks Max for his good work out in the field. And you'll note some of the photos and some of the things that were, continue to monitor that are in the report. We've had a number of Zoom calls with relevant people from FDOT and others. So I think we have a very good ongoing relationship with them in regards to the maintenance of the roadways and things like that. And just a very brief note, I got some cooperation from the city regarding the vacant lots at the south end of town, north end of the city, and we're working on those because I have some concerns about life safety issues relative to the untended debris, some cabling and some other items in there, but we're getting some good cooperation from the city. I've spoken with some of their police personnel about, about what they can do to help us out down there. So this is all sort of a totality of actions that we're trying to work in this particular area.
All right, thank you. Anything for the town manager wearing the Public Works hat? Nothing? Okay, I'll just say, and I know it's one of your favorite subjects, I do from time to time continue to get comments on the sidewalks. I know it's not our jurisdiction. Everything from, why can't we get the asphalt color to match in a community like this, which is probably not great in the constellation of issues we have to deal with, although I'm not saying it wouldn't be nice as an aesthetically challenged person, but also some dangerous conditions that, some asphalt is uneven and, folks are worried about tripping and falling, et cetera. So if we could just put that on your load of bricks to kind of follow up with FDOT and see when they're going to, look at that issue, particularly at the south portion of town. Mm-hmm. So
we'll do. I'll be able to report on the 23rd on that.
Great, thank you. Town treasurer.
Good morning. You have my report, and if you have any questions that I can answer regarding that.
Anything for Heather? Now that you're breathing a little sigh of relief after audit season and budget season as we're going into it.
Well, speaking of that, yeah, the auditors are going to be here September 15th to start planning. So.
Right. Well, hopefully you have all your work done, so, no questions on Doge for her? No? Okay. All right.
I appreciate that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Chief Stone, Public Safety Department. Good morning.
Just a couple of real quick things. We did get our engine placed back in service yesterday after an extensive repair we had on the pump. And we're be bringing another item to you for your consideration in your next agenda meeting. We have also started working with Johns Island on their setting the schedule for the holiday season for the crosswalks and those types of things and getting the additional manpower signed up for that. But other than that, if you got any questions on the report we've submitted, I'll be happy to answer those for you.
Anything? No? Okay. I know we'll be, it's arguably within your ambit, but we're going to let the town manager and the town attorney talk about the shark fishing and enforcement mechanisms and things. We had some comment from the public on that, so stay tuned.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Town clerk, Ms. Rutin.
Good morning. Just a couple of things. The first is that there is a vacancy for the MPO Bicycle Advisory Committee that we will be putting in the newsletter that will go out tomorrow, but that would be coming up on an agenda, and if you had any recommendations that I could send an application to, I would be more than happy to do that. And secondly, in the newsletter again tomorrow will be a press release from our Supervisor of Elections. Due to the Real ID, many of our residents have had to get new IDs, new licenses, and that is a new license number that is being issued, which affects the absentee ballot applications. So they will have to reapply, even if they just reapplied, they're going to have to reapply. So I will be putting that in the newsletter and kind of keeping up with that. So again, if any questions, the best suggestion is when they're getting those Real IDs renewed, that they say that they would like to update their voter registration at that time, and then also just remind people that they can file the forms through my office as well.
Terrific, thank you. Anything for the town clerk? All right, thanks very much. And good luck telling people that they do not vote in the City of Vero Beach elections. We get that confusion all the time. So, town attorney, I know you are going to do a duet with our town manager on legal prescriptions involving fishing on the beach and what we can and cannot do. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, sir. The focus today will be talking about that. So let's just start with jurisdictionally who we have to work with and what we control. First, Florida Fish and Wildlife, FWC, is a primary jurisdictional enforcement agency for a lot of shark fishing in Florida. And let's just stay focused on beach shark fishing. Anything in the waters probably would be very difficult, if impossible, for us to enforce, even very close to the beach. So beach fishing, starting with the prohibition statewide on chumming. And this is directly from the FWC, and I'll work with Mr. Harpring and our town clerk to maybe even have this information put in. This is the current regulations for shark fishing in Florida. But chumming is completely prohibited from any beach in Florida. So starting from that, that should really limit the amount of people that would be doing shark fishing. Following on from that, FWC requires a permit that you would have to be able to do it. There are restrictions on the length of the leader, the type of gear that you can use, all of those types of things. Those, again, are all FWC state legislative requirements. Locally, here within the town, we allow people to be on the beach, but we have two important things. One, we have our own unlawful baiting, chumming, blood baiting, and section 102.01. That would, again, it's a belt and suspenders to the state's prohibition on chumming from beaches. Additionally, we have the ability and control essentially the access to and from the beach under our section 91.05, which again prevents access to the beach through our dune crossovers from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. So people are allowed to be on the beach, that's allowed, but they're not allowed to necessarily cross back and forth. And in speaking with Mr. Harpring, that's where we would have some jurisdictional input and enforcement aspect. Again, and I'll let Mr. Harpring and our public safety director talk about it, but really our residents need to feel comfortable and be able to let us know if they suspect this is going on and we have enforcement mechanisms. So with that, I'll let Mr. Harpring kind of segue into how that could happen if we have that come up.
Okay, just to put it in C-spot, Ron.
Yes, sir.
We have no ability to prevent people from lawfully fishing off the beach, including sharks, if they're on the beach lawfully.
That's true.
We do have a state prohibition against chumming, and we even have a town ordinance against that.
Yes, sir.
We can control how people use the town access to the beach, but we cannot control how other access to the beach is. And so if they wander down through the city of Vero Beach or south, through, I guess that's unincorporated county down there, or even start all the way down in Orchid and move their way up, we have limited ability to control that access.
Yes, sir.
Or even Turtle Trail.
Or even Turtle Trail, right, that's a county access. But I think that's locked at night, isn't it? So
I believe so.
yeah,
Turtle
okay. So
Trail
the county accesses, they're pretty good working with us and locking that access. So we don't have any access in the town lawfully after dark.
That's correct.
So we do control that.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now the fun part goes to Mr. Harpring. He's going to tell us what we can do, because it's longstanding been the policy of the town to impose the maximum restrictions on shark fishing and creating dangerous conditions on our beach, within the purview of state statutes. So, thank you, Mr. Harpring.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. So just a couple of additional things from a day-to-day operational standpoint, I guess. Our public safety personnel, when called, do go down to the beach and will make contact with individuals that are down there. I know of at least one situation where one of our public safety officers asked for a permit and somebody did have a permit. One of the other things that's going to be significant, I think, in this area that we're going to do, which was planned alongside the Beachcomber and Pebble Lane septic to sewer project, but which we're going to accelerate, which will not have any adverse effect at all on the septic to sewer project, is essentially tightening up the access point. We're going to do two things. One, we are going to gate the stairway access from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. It'll be locked. You won't be able to walk down that. There'll also be a gate. Right now we have what are sort of euphemistically referred to as Jersey barriers. They're not filled with water or sand because we do move them for access. But we're going to install a gate on a slide on a rail and some other things to certainly add to that both actual and visual perception that first, you're not supposed to be going over the dune at all, and that's a big thing for people carrying a lot of fishing equipment. Secondly, at 9 p.m. or thereabouts, we're going to come down. Public safety is going to close that door. It's going to be locked. So if you're down on the beach at that point in time and you've accessed, and clearly we're not going to look at our watch and wait for the second hand to hit 12 right at 9 o'clock, but if we see people down there, we're going to, as I've mentioned many before, we're going to educate people, we're going to encourage them, and then we're going to go to the enforcement piece. So those are some of the things that we're going to do. Secondarily, we've already started with some signage down there about not going over the dunes and other signage related to the access being closed from 9 to 6. So those are some of the other things that we're able to do, both within state law, our town ordinance, and within our own administrative discretion.
Okay, and obviously, a few years ago when this last came up, we clamped down on the parking on Fred Turk, and if people don't have a place to park, it's naturally going to restrict where they're going to be able to carry all that equipment. One question, do we have the power does our public safety department have the power to effectuate an arrest for violation of the state statute if there's illegal chumming in the water?
If it's criminal, yes, of course, we can enforce any state statute.
Yeah, I knew the answer to that. I just wanted everybody else to have the benefit of that. So,
and Mr. Mayor, to follow that, Mr. Harpering and I spoke about this morning. We have an excellent relationship, and I'll defer to Chief Stone with FWC. I know that we regularly interact with them, particularly on the riverside as well, related to that. So certainly we would work belt and suspenders with them.
Terrific. Thank you very much. All right, Vice Mayor, you have a comment or question?
So where are they parking?
Well, that's a very good question. There are obviously any parking around here is going to be obvious and apparent to our public safety personnel. We've got the signage out here, and we prohibit parking from 1 to 6 because we have events a little later on at the community center and so on. But it's an awful long walk with shark fishing gear if you are coming up from really anywhere to get here that's not a private access. Is it possible that people are entering places and parking at places and trespassing essentially in areas where there's no gates or so on in terms of, it's possible, but we're pretty attentive to, to those stray cars out and about, so we're just not sure in that regard.
All right, anything else from council on that? Okay, all right. So we're being as responsive as we can to citizen input on this, and we'll continue to monitor it, and Chief Stone will have his people and the even the auxiliary folks out there. Ma'am, did you want to make your comment now? I suspect you're the person that wrote one of the emails, so.
I just wanted to say.
Please, you have to come up to the podium and say who you are and where you're from and all that preliminary stuff. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. I haven't done this for a while. Charlotte Terry. I live on Beachcomber Lane and have for over 30 years. And I have been in contact with the police here because I have grandchildren. We have a lot of people that go swimming down there. And you all know what chumming does. Sharks have memories. And so I've many times seen these guys down there. I know you all have sort of gotten the laws a little tighter, which is great. But it's a huge concern. I've been down there before where they have tents and they're like 8 or 10 guys fishing from the beach, but they take a little boat out and they chum, which is, according to your police staff, says that that's totally legal. I don't know if there's any way to try to change that. I mean, this is a public beach and anybody can walk down there. We live on the street, but anybody in the neighborhood that wants to can walk down there. Park Shores, a lot of people utilize that. These guys what they're doing is they come down and they drop everything off at the end of the street. I live 3 doors from the access. And then they come over and park. But they have massive, equipment that they drop off there. So I think what you're proposing sounds like a reasonable thing, although it's not I like to go down to the beach at night sometimes and, visit the neighbors. We go down there. And if you lock it at 9 o'clock at night, that means none of us will be able to go down on the beach between 9 and 6, the residents.
That's correct if you're going to access through the Beachcomber Lane access. Yes, ma'am.
Is there any way you could do it on a lock system where the local people that live on that street could actually go out? Because, a lot of us walk the beach early in the morning or late at night.
Yeah, in my opinion, that would be very, very challenging to do that, to distribute a code. So I just think that's challenging, and I know that might be an imposition. Though notwithstanding time changes, it's going to be dark at 9, and it's really not going to be light until about 6. And I appreciate that people do go down at different hours, but I don't think that would effectively assist us to distribute a code to allow people to access it.
I don't think you can restrict it to members of the town only, and not practically the code numbers would get out, but you can't restrict it only to town residents.
So the plan is then to put a fence from the property line, the private property of the vacant lot, over to the gate or to the crosswalk, and that would only be open for when you all do your little turtle things and or sand dumping. Just another thing we love on our street. Okay, but there's nothing else. Is there any other way we could legally try to stop them from being able to chum from a boat? You said that, is that a state law?
Yes, those issues are all preempted by the state, so that would be a state legislative issue. We could not do anything that we could enforce.
Right, okay. All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome. But, just to clarify, my understanding has always been that our public access is closed after a certain amount of time anyway. What we're doing is we're putting teeth behind the ability to people to access it in violation of the ordinance, right? So, yeah, so we're not changing anything. There's your ability to access the beach, from the public access points has always been restricted under ordinance in the town. We're just now imposing gates to put teeth in that, so.
Mr. Mayor, to follow that, the ordinance restricting the time has been in place since 2002.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, in effect, if I'm down there on the beach walk, sitting after that time, that's illegal? Interesting. Okay.
Well, I'm sure one of our officers would come up and chat with you for a while and tell you that he's going to lock the gate, and it's probably time to go.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's good to know. I'll let our street know. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for your comments. All right. Now that we've taken a bite out of that issue, Mr. Town Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. Very briefly, if you have been down to the beach access, we have coordinated with the Rotary Club. They have a Drown Zero project. So we have a throw, don't go philosophy down there, which is take the throw ring, someone has a problem in the water, throw it, call 911, don't try to go in and save yourself. We unfortunately see many times that's an issue where the rescuer either has to be rescued or or meets a worse fate. So we're happy to have that down there. I want to thank Lucy and Janice, of course, and we had a Treasure Coast Waterways beach cleanup, and there's just a couple of pictures. We got about 4 pounds of trash from our beach here, and we're greatly appreciative for folks coming out and helping the Treasure Coast Waterway cleanup. I'd like to turn to just generally our website and our domain name change. Just very briefly, we are involved in, or have been involved in, reviewing different providers, vendors for website services. I want to in particular thank Janice, who did a lot of work, both preparatory and throughout the process here. She has great knowledge in this area. And we are looking at a remodel of the website at this point in time associated with the domain name change. And I'll get you some more details as things come up on that, but just wanted to let you know that we're continuing looking to improve that experience for, for our residents and those that use our services. And Council, that's all I have right now, unless there's any questions I can answer.
Anything for the town manager, starting with Councilman Dane?
I have no questions.
Vice Mayor?
I'm sorry, our friends at Republic Services, we continue to have billing problems, and they say they're going to cut the bills out, and they're going to manually reduce them and so forth. I keep getting calls from residents as recently as Monday afternoon of this week, where they left a message on this gentleman's phone. They had done the same thing to me, saying that I was in arrears, not paying September amount. And, poor Lucy and Janice are being subjected to this by Republic Services. My suggestion would be to send out a separate email similar to what we did on the waste can, and just give them Republic and say, we've tried everything, give them Republic Services number, and let them have to deal with it. But this is incredibly annoying. Republic Services, they're a huge organization. They lose and gain contracts all the time by town. And the fact that they have been monkeying around this process since January, I mean, having done coding myself for databases, it's something called a structured query language change in a table. It's as simple as anything because it's all in Indian River Shores. But that would be my suggestion, to try to take the heat off of our town clerk and your executive assistant, and also let people know to where the problem. And we've been trying to do things on this, so we haven't been sitting there. So
We'll take care of that.
okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harpering. Nothing?
Mr. Mayor, I just had actually one thing that I neglected to say, if I may briefly.
Sure.
I just want to note, and again, thank the team here for if you kind of look around the chambers, and I don't know if you've noticed, we have the sound dampening equipment on the walls. We've got our system in. We continue to fine tune it, but got a lot of just great input from staff. The one biggest thing that a lot of these changes reflect are the ability to actually watch and listen to the meeting at either live or at a later date with excellent sound. And I just can't thank again our staff enough for the input due to, I guess, our collective aesthetic challenges. So I'm just very grateful for color and shape and all that kind of input. So I just want to mention that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Likewise, and thank you from council as well. So good job. Call to the audience. Is there anything on anybody's mind having absolutely nothing to do with anything that hasn't already been discussed? Yes.
I would just like to thank you all for your time for running this town so well. I really appreciate it. It's a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate that. Anything else? Council committee reports. I don't think anybody had any committee reports to report on that wasn't the Florida League of Cities, so we're good, right? Okay.
Yep.
So we are adjourned until our September budget meeting, which is what date?
September 16th,
Okay.
5:01 p.m.
5:01, not 5 o'clock, but 5:01 by statute. Yes, okay. Yes, we have a special call meeting following this, but that's not open to the public, so. All right. Thank you very much.
We